Alright, how's it going? Today I'm going to compare two little tiny 1.5 ounce or 1 ounce stoves. These are fuel canister stoves. Okay, one of them is called the BRS stove and the other one is called the fire maple stove. They're very similar. They're very similar in weight. The BRS stove is slightly lighter. I can feel it in my hands right now. Okay. All right. I've had the BRS stove for a while already, and I'm desperate to replace it. Basically, what I found is that its functionality is extremely unpredictable, and oftentimes it shoots flames out to the sides. I've been told by other backpackers on the internet that I can go on eBay and I can buy the tie foil and create a windscreen for this thing, or that I could put it on simmer and simmer my food, you know. But I was really excited to find something else, and I heard about this from backpackinglight.com on their YouTube channel. They recommended the fire maple stove. They are approximately the same price, and they are also approximately the same weight. The fire maple maybe is a fraction of an ounce heavier than the BRS. It also maybe is slightly bigger, but both nest into a coffee cup with the fuel canister. Okay. So basically my big issue is that the BRS stove shoots flames out to the sides. You know, it can put little tiny like cigarette burn holes in your stuff sacks. It can also shrink dink your pack. So recently I went on a hike where I ended up at the ocean. I put my Tyvek out on the sand. I threw my bag down and everything down around me, busted out the BRS stove, and I started to cook a rice side. And I didn't notice that my Mountain Laurel Designs Core 22 pack was only like 1.5 feet away from the BRS stove. And what I found was that the heat from the BRS stove was shooting out to the sides, and it was shrinky dinking the laminate on my polyester Dyneema pack material. And so it was doing a little bit of damage to my pack. The damage that the BRS stove did to my pack is not substantial. The pack is still functional. But it just is worrisome that, you know, the heat from the BRS stove, it shoots out to the sides, and it's difficult to put your hand into this area. Okay, so even if I had a windscreen, it would be difficult for me to reach into this area. You have to be really careful when you reach for the controls to turn it off. It kind of just creates a ball of fire. Okay, now the advantage of that over with the fire maple has an advantage over that in that the flame is more of a predictable candle shape. Okay, so our ancestors, and even me myself included during the 80s, I was accustomed to using a candle flame. A candle flame is very predictable, it just shoots up. So for instance, if I put my pack next to it, it's not gonna like light my pack on fire or shrink dink my pack. Now, my pack is not the only thing that's being affected. I mean, if you want to light a flame inside of the storm doors of your shelter vestibule, you don't want those storm doors to light on fire. You don't want your arm, like if you have a puffy on and you bring your arm too close to your flame, you don't want the fire from your stove to light your puffy on fire. You know, so you want the flame from your stove to be predictable and to look like a candle flame. Now, as far as the flame shooting out to the sides, yeah, if I was using a 1 foot wide aluminum frying pan, it would be great to have the flame shoot out farther. But I'm not. I'm using a coffee cup, and it has a very small base. Also, this titanium coffee cup does not boil water very easily because the titanium does not heat up very easy. So I need all of the flame from my stove to hit the bottom of this coffee cup to boil the water faster. All right, now the distance from the burner to the coffee cup is pretty far on both with the fire maple. There's plenty of space here for the wind to blow underneath the coffee cup. But regardless of that, the flame is shooting up straight at the water. Okay, so the water will boil easier. With the BRS, the flame comes around the sides of the cup, and it is taking a long time for the water to boil. And sometimes the water doesn't boil because even in a slight breeze, that prevents the BRS stove from being able to boil my water. That combined with it lighting my stuff on fire or melting my pack, etc., the BRS stove is probably going to end up in because these little tiny stoves are going to be my backup stove. If I get a chance to buy the Soto Windmaster, I'll probably spend the $80 and buy an actual stove, and this little fire maple stove will then become my backup. The BRS stove was going to be my backup, but I am so worried about using it, I actually am probably going to throw it out. So I'm going to film some of this video during daylight, but I'm actually going to film some of it at night so that you can actually see in the dark what the flame looks like, okay? Now, there are more challenges to cooking. You know, this cook system is probably the most difficult system in my entire pack system to dial in and get right. I've had a lot of trouble getting my food right. These little Knorr rice side packets, they're very hit and miss. Sometimes I'm able to eat it, sometimes I'm not able to eat it. Sometimes the pasta sticks together and it won't soften up and I can't really chew on it. The texture is bad, the flavor is bad. Sometimes there gets little tiny holes in the bottom of the pack, and so when I pour my hot water into this bag, the water just comes out the bottom. There's a lot of issues with trying to eat these rice sides just to begin with. That combined with the water filter. I've been hearing that water filters do not really do well if they're stored dry. So, you know, I have trouble with just feeling bloated and you know, drinking water that maybe isn't filtered. I've been using the Be Free, but I've started to store my Be Free wet. There's a little bit of water in here because what I found is that maybe the Be Free is not really filtering my water as good as I would want it to be filtered. So this whole entire cook system is something that I've been struggling with. The food is pretty bad. The water also seems to be pretty bad. And the stove, the BRS stove, was bad also. And just having all of those challenges going on at once and trying to overcome all of it all at the same time, it just seemed to be too much to deal with too much of the time. Okay, so the sun is going down, and what I'm going to do once it gets dark is I'm going to light these two stoves up, the BRS and the fire maple, so that you can see what the flame looks like in the dark. I'm going to boil some water, and then I'm going to use my Z-Pack sit pad as a windscreen. And as you can see from this hole right here, my Z-Pack's sit pad is already lit on fire once, using it as a windscreen with the BRS stove. I was kind of holding it like this, and it lit on fire, okay? I'm gonna recreate that. I'm gonna light this up in the dark, and we will put the sit pad right here and see how close it needs to be before it lights on fire. All right, and then maybe we'll try it again. We'll boil some water with the fire maple, and see if the fire maple does better as far as not shooting heat off to the sides and lighting my kit on fire that's like next to the stove, you know? All right, so let's check it out. All right, so let's just get to it. Let's just get started here. Let's try the experiment. I got some water. I've got my sit pad, okay, and I've got the BRS stove here. All right, let's light it up. Okay. All right, okay, let's get some water on there. Okay. All right, what's that? Okay, so this video has been super weird, mostly because the BRS stove worked exceptionally for the video. Normally it doesn't. I've had a lot of bad luck with the stove, except for today when I was making the video. It didn't light my sit pad on fire like it did before. Here it is from before, and here it is now. Let's try the fire maple and just see what happens, just to do it. Alright, the experiment didn't work. My sit pad did not light on fire. Not sure why that is. And I did get a pretty intense rolling boil though, quickly. The water's super hot off of the fire maple. Doesn't really, I'm not really sure what to say. For this experiment, the BRS and the fire maple kind of worked the same. So all I can say is that my experiences have been very inconsistent with the BRS stove, and the fire maple is brand new. So maybe in a couple months after using the fire maple for a while, I'll know, if there's a major improvement. But yeah, for tonight's video, the two stoves were pretty similar. I was kind of hoping that the fire maple would be like much better, and that definitely wasn't evident in this video. But yeah, only time will tell. Anyway, I guess that's it for now. All right.